I mean, I know everybody speaks French, but that's just stupid.
This is honest motorsport news, but it's not quite honest, is it, Sam?
I'm honest.
Are you really?
Yes.
Oh,
I'm
good Lord. Can F1 truly be carbon neutral? Especially coming with the future of 25 races and all these races around the globe, Sam. What do you think?
You'll find out now. So Formula One has decided that by 2030 it's going to be a carbon zero sport. They're talking about emissions and the lovely greenhouse gases and making the world a better place, which is exactly the right thing to do. But for a sport that travels around the world to 20-something different locations and has fans coming from all over those areas, and some of them going around the world as well to visit, it's very difficult to see how they're going to do this.
Well, the carbon neutral aspect of it is actually it's a bit of a it's very much a quotation marks, because it doesn't actually, from what I've read and from what I've understood, it doesn't actually take into account the fans actually going to the circuit. This is actually...
No, I've read the full corporate documentation.
The corporate documentation?
There's a corporate documentation on this. I've read the corporate documentation.
Was Formula One there with TM after every single mention?
I mean, the TM was just the watermark on every letter of the word. But no, they are taking into account that the fans getting to the track, and every single Grand Prix from now on is going to be forced to offer a sustainable way of getting to the circuit, which, if you're in Monaco, Montreal, even Barcelona, perhaps if you look even to Monza, it's quite easy. There's train lines, you can have a low emissions bus that takes you the extra little bit from the train station to the track. That's easy. However, there are other race circuits that are not so easy.
You'd be talking about Silverstone?
I am indeed talking about Silverstone.
May I just interject at this point that I actually went to Spa via public transport.
Yeah, you did. I've done this as well. It's actually entirely doable.
It took me longer to get to Silverstone from London than it did to get to Spa from London.
Is that true?
Yes.
So Eurostar to Brussels.
Eurostar to Brussels. Again, to get the train down to
Liège.
To Verviers via Liège.
Okay.
Then you pick up the 395 or the 294 bus, whichever tickles your fancy, to the source, and from there you have a 400-meter walk to the circuit.
That's brilliant, and I bet that's really cheap, apart from the Eurostar bit, because they're massively overpriced. Eurostar, if you're watching this, you're too expensive, stop it.
This carbon neutral F1 thing, we're not talking about a situation where F1 are going to have, completely eradicate the carbon output from F1. We're talking about net settings.
Well, you're talking the overall. Formula One is an overall sport. So, if you're looking at the biggest, so if you think about the cars racing in the Grand Prix itself and doing the practice sessions, that accounts for 0.7% of the total carbon emissions of Formula One. Though I have absolutely no idea how they calculate that, because calculating emissions from a race car is almost impossible, because you need a massive. If you see an emission test car, it's like the whole car is a scientific test rig, so you can't put that on the back of a Ferrari.
How do you justify a carbon neutral F1 while also running a night race in Singapore?
Well, I mean, that's a good point, isn't it? I mean, the electrical cost of those lights. Do you know they air condition the streets in Singapore?
Really?
Yeah, open streets. But yeah, I mean, that's a very good point. And that's what you've got to look. And they're looking at the whole of Formula One, the whole cost of Formula One. They're looking at how to make that carbon neutral, and it's the right thing to do. Formula One's got a massive single-use plastics problem, like absolutely huge. You go to every circuit and there's like, I was at the French Grand Prix actually. It was the French Grand Prix. It was really bad for it, and it had just all of these little plastic, eating things and plastic cups, and everybody at the circuit was, every single dish, and the French like a lot of dishes, had a little plastic thing to eat from, and they all went in the bin. There were these mountains of single-use plastic, which are all going to go in a landfill. It's not recycled, but Formula One is now going to literally physically weigh all of that waste and work out what's recyclable and what's not. And for the races, by 2030, every single race has to be neutral. And it's going to be quite interesting to see how they're going to manage that, because I can't see that some of the circuits are going to be able to move to being completely environmentally friendly and plastic free. Now, the Japanese Grand Prix at Suzuka is going to be really easy for them to do the transport thing. It's got its own train station. It's very easy to get to. People don't really go there and park too much. I mean, the car parks are quite small, and everybody comes in the train, so that's great. But Japan is absolutely addicted to single-use plastics. Like, everything comes in 4 sheets of plastic wrapping. You buy one orange or an egg, and it comes wrapped in plastic. And a plastic box. Yeah, you can buy a single egg.
Another aspect we've got to consider about this, Sam, is we're talking about the carbon neutral Formula 1, we're talking about Formula 1 that wants to reduce emissions, but at the same time also looking to increase to potentially 25 Grand Prix. Again, how does this work?
The single biggest source of carbon emissions and negative emissions for Formula 1 is people travelling to the race and teams travelling from track to track to track. Logistics take up more than 25% of Formula 1's total emissions. Now, with 21, I think we're at now, Grand Prix.
Yes.
If you look at where the Grand Prix are, they've gone from Austin back to England, let's to Brazil,
let's take this
back
into account.
to Abu Dhabi. And if you look at it on a map, they're flying backwards on themselves. If they had a sensible calendar where you might go from France to Germany to Austria to Hungary, so it's just one journey.
But let's also look at the beginning of the season, Sam, because the season starts in Australia, then goes to Bahrain, then goes to China, and then I think it is Azerbaijan. Or
yes, maybe somewhere around
Azerbaijan or Russia, and then before the actual European season starts. And next year you've got to take into account that leg also has to have Vietnam in it as well.
Yes.
None of that in terms of, you would look at the map and say that doesn't actually make any sense whatsoever.
It doesn't make any sense. So the clearest thing to reduce carbon emissions, what we want to do is have the calendar in a sensible order. And if you look at the European season alone, we've got the Dutch Grand Prix coming in for the first time, but I think that's
in May.
Is that before or after the Spanish Grand Prix?
That is before.
So they're going to go from the Netherlands to Spain to Monaco
to Canada to
France, but Monaco from wait, I can see that something's gone wrong here.
Oh, but no, it's not. It's actually just your brain going yeah.
So they're going to go from Monaco, which is basically in the south of France, and then to go to Castellet circuit, which is about 150 kilometres away? Not even 100 kilometres away.
From a race promoter's point of view, I can actually understand their reticence to do that, because you have the Monaco Grand Prix, then you have the French Grand Prix only 150
absolutely, but you are going from a carbon emissions point of view, you are going from Monaco, which is near Nice, to Marseille, which is near Nice, via Toronto and Montreal.
It's a nice round trip.
I mean, I know everybody speaks French, but that's just stupid. That is from a carbon emissions point of view, that is really stupid. Why don't we twin the US Grand Prix in Texas, or the new Miami Grand Prix, which is being rumoured, with the Montreal Grand Prix? So at least you're using up some of that. You make it's pointless flying for one race. And I know people who travel to the Le Mans 24 Hours, photographers who go to the Le Mans 24 Hours test day, then fly to Canada, then fly back for the Le Mans 24 Hours race, and then fly back to England, then fly down to the south coast of France to do a Grand Prix. It's ridiculous.
The Americas is actually an interesting part of this topic, because let's take it Montreal, which is in June, then you have Texas, Mexico, Brazil, which are all generally in October. You can't do Montreal in September, because that's what they used to do.
Why can't you do Montreal in September?
At the end of the 70s, because shockingly enough, the temperatures plummet and there's often snow.
We've had Silverstone in April. I mean, that worked. Oh, no, wait.
No. But at the same time, you can't do Texas in June, because the temperatures actually reached such a significant level that it's not an advisable position to be in.
They can deal with it. I mean, NASCAR races there at that time of year, so why can't Formula 1? They're paid a lot of money, they can do this. That bit of sweat, come on. Hungary's ridiculously hot track temperature, over 50 degrees centigrade.
Sam, realistically, how realistic is this proposal from F1?
Very. I mean, they can do it. It's not going to be easy, and people aren't going to be happy. And some fans at Silverstone will be very upset that they can't take a dirty old bus from Northampton to the circuit anymore. They're going to have to travel in a Tesla, in comfort and style and panache and electric loveliness.
Carbon neutral F1?
It's coming soon. Well, 2030. So if there's anything you'd like us to be talking about on this very well scripted show, let us know in the comments, but make sure you hit like and subscribe, because we will address all of those comments either in the comments or in a show all of its own, and you'll get our opinions and our honest opinions on everything. So stay tuned, hit like, hit subscribe. Goodbye.